The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, says the construction of 40 judges' quarters in the Katampi district of the nation's capital Abuja will boost the performance of judicial officers in the Federal Capital Territory. The CGN, who spoke at the flag-off ceremony of the project, described the project as a significant milestone in the continuous effort of the government to enhance the welfare of judicial officers in the FCT. Justice Kekereekun said judges need peace of mind to operate efficiently and perform their duties with greater focus. Now, the gesture to the judiciary is already generating reactions in some quarters. Let's have this conversation with Dr. Sam Amadi. He joins us live in the studio now. Thank you so much, Doctor, for your time. If you look at the speech by the justice there, he said this would boost performance. And the question a lot of Nigerians are asking is whether this is part of the welfare package or is an instrument of influence. How do you respond?
Well, first, I think we should be very careful when we talk about judicial performance. Judicial performance is not just like any other performer. So you're a lawyer, you're a carpenter, you're a manufacturer, you measure unit of outputs. So in a sense, we all concede that judges, just like any other public officials, need what the student calls peace of mind, which is they have to do their job in an environment that allows them to focus, that allows them to not be like Justice Bagwati of the Indian Supreme Court says, necessitous people are people of freedom. So if the judge is hungry, probably won't get the best from him. But the point is that part of what judges produce is what they call justice and equity. And so when judges are going to handle cases involving government, and by that executive branch, so look at it this way. The Constitution has 3 branches. The political branches are 2, the legislature and the executive. They are political because the law allows them to make decisions based on interests. And so a president can decide to build a road to a constituency that voted for him. That's not illegal. It's political decision. It's okay. The House can make a law based on their interests. That's fine. But the judges, the judiciary is the only branch of government that has the responsibility of being abstract in the sense of not determined by interest. So a judge does not make a decision because he has interest in the outcome. They are bound by rules of logic, rules of objectivity, and therefore disinterest. And so the question then is if judges themselves can now be beneficiaries of capricious government donation. So the executive say, okay, we're going to buy them aircraft, we're going to buy them this and that. It suggests that they're going to be in debt to this executive, and within the realm of human, feelings and human nature, you are going to have a judiciary that is indebted, quote unquote, grateful to the executive branch, namely the FCT government. And therefore, if you have cases there, so the question with a litigant going to meet these judges who are already housed by the FCT minister as a gracious intervention to help their work is how am I sure these guys are going to be objective? And it's not theoretical. As a young lawyer with Chief Gani Fayemi, when Concord newspaper had issue with the Supreme Court justices, the Supreme Court justices sued Concord newspaper on the basis that Concord reported that the judges received benefit from Julius Berger. The federal government there under Buhari and others, under Abacha, gave judges long vehicles, and the argument was that it was procured with the help of Julius Berger. That was a case in Supreme Court. Now, the morality of that case was that judges are under influence by virtue of the gift of now long Mercedes-Benz, which the judges argue that they travel a lot to the north and all that, and one of their colleagues got involved in an accident. But look at the way out. The Constitution says the judiciary should be, fiscally independent, meaning that the judges themselves can develop the budget that they put every year. Should have provisions, if they're going to have, for example, housing, they could indicate that they're going to be build houses. So I think it's really wrong, arguably unconstitutional, but to have judges award, the executive gratuitously, not part of the project that the judiciary themselves earmark and put in a budget. So the question is not whether government can construct. The question is who decides. Is it part of the judicial budget, a judicial project for the year, or is it just gratuitous? Not just in FCT. State governors are also giving vehicles. Sometimes here the governor has graciously donated 13 SUV for judges. That's not the relationship between the judiciary and the executive. It should be arm's length. In fact, the rules of judicial code of conduct for judges explicit says that no judge should be in a position where his relationship with the executive or with parties who could be before him, create impression of some kind of pecuniary or other benefits. So I think that this is a bad policy, and that the Chief Justice of Nigeria, instead of eulogizing and praising, should actually reject it and say, look, if judges want to construct, by the way, there's no reason why to construct a special housing estate for judges. I mean, these are not school children. These are people who ought to be paid well to fend for themselves. That's what it's supposed to be.
Let's look at what this portends for the effectiveness and the independence of the judiciary in the country. Would you say this is lawful or it's not lawful?
I think it's unlawful, arguably unconstitutional, for the premise of independence of the judiciary and the premise of separation of power. I can argue, as a constitutional lawyer, that states, the executive branch, providing, housing or pecuniary benefit to judges outside the judicial own budget is an act construable to be a, corruption of the judiciary and corruption of the judiciary and creating an undue influence that could reflect. Look, don't forget that it's not about what actually happens. It's the perception that matters. It says justice, the perception of conflict of interest, not just reality, but the perception of it. So if you're going to have a FCT minister or a state governor award, decide to build beautiful houses for judges, and arguably, when we had this in Lagos, at the time that the Lagos judiciary was very good, Bola Tinubu as governor, Ushibanjo, they provided a lot of good support, grants, things like even shares, and they were doing well. But some people argue that was part of the process that kind of corralled the judicial system up to those in Court of Appeal.
So your argument in this case, I mean, if whatever you want to give to judges or whatever is due for judges should be captured in their annual budget.
That's one. Judicial budget,
But let's talk about, because there are conversations around the need for judicial reforms in your view. What sort of reforms should we be looking at? What kind of conversations should come to the table?
Absolutely.
So I need you to speak to this.
First, I think there should be clarity that this is a nascent democracy. Let me use the tired word, nascent. Meaning that this democracy is still reversible and it's not yet strengthened. So we need to have very clear-cut separation between the executive and, for example, you see judges are appointed and some state governors throw party for judicial officers from their state. These are people appointed Court of Appeal. I know for case happened in Imo State. I mean, the Supreme Court Justice from Imo, governors from Osoludo, my own governor, everybody came there partying. That's not what it's supposed to be. When they appoint you, everything about the judiciary should be managed strictly by the judiciary. So the judges appoint them. If they're going to be a party, the judges organize either the Chief Justice of the state or the federation organizes the judicial administrative system, organizes it for them. A reasonable party. There's no reason why a governor should say, I'm welcoming our daughter or son who became a chief justice and organize a party. Look, we should be very careful about the way we allow intermingling. That's number two. Even the so-called judicial year, there's nothing that should make the governor or the FCT minister or the president speak at the judicial. The judicial year is for, the judicial is an institution counterposed to the executive branch. They don't understand what that means. It means that the government is three-parted. That's the executive, that's legislature. The executive and legislature can commingle because they are political branch. The judiciary is a non-political branch. So whereas there
should be that distinction between these three.
Clarity. And the idea we fight for judicial first-line charge is that the judges will have to be financially independent. So they should plan their budget. If they need to procure vehicles, if they need to procure build houses, that should be a decision that judges made, the judicial governance, and then the state funds as part of appropriation. It should not be what policy that a governor, if FC minister says, I want to build. Look, already there's a big issue on the table that the judiciary has been largely bought over by the executive branch. And you are deepening that capture with these policies. And it's strange that the Chief Justice of Nigeria could be celebrating what he should be abjuring.
Pardon me to butt in as we wrap up. I asked a question earlier, which is about
reforms.
When we talk about your reforms.
So the first reform
what sort of reforms?
The first reform is that it should be very clear.
There
should be executive. There should be a judicial direction for the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
I think that is spelled out in the Constitution already.
No, and
in terms of independence.
But she should now specify circumstances. One of them is no more budgetary or extra-budgetary support from the executive for the judiciary. The judiciary of a state or the FCT or the federation should be able to prepare their needs based on it. Two, they should not get executive political branches involved in celebration of judicial year, except as onlookers. I mean, if you're a governor, your lawyer can come. But this idea that somehow the judiciary should be under the executive so that they kind of support them, financially help them, is dangerous. And again, much of constitutional litigation, human rights, much of it is against government. We've seen an increasing resort to oppressive strategy by state government. We've seen violation of media rights, press rights, human rights. So when you don't have an executive branch who are going to be asked to account for before the judiciary, being the one gratifying the judiciary, it creates an impression that maybe we are going to a hostile territory where the judges themselves are already in cahoots with executive. That's not good for independence. So the independence should be real, not just theoretical. It should be real because judges are truly free from any financial. They're not judges are like the word Gadifo used once when we were doing the case of Concord. He told the chief to say, "I'm here with my colleagues who have no reason to be grateful. There should be no reason that judges are grateful to executive branch. If they're grateful, that compromises the independence of the judiciary and the justice that they can retain."
Well, thank you for making sense of the conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Sam Amadi, for coming on the News Night. We appreciate your time.